So I've been thinking about how I almost quit trying to have kids because it was taking too long. And when I say too long, it was 7 years. 7 years of trying. And I really had given up at that point. We did numerous fertility treatments, IUIs, IVFs, everything. I'm a Christian woman. My parents are ministers. I went to church. We didn't live in the same state at that time, but they obviously were praying for me. The churches, I live in Georgia now, the churches I went to here, no one was talking about infertility. When I say no one, not one person talked about infertility. So I already felt like isolated and, I'm just not going to do this anymore. Fast forward, I ended up going out to California. I had just started a job working for another TV writer who had an overall deal at NBC. And we actually were in our last round. My husband said, okay, we're going to try this one more time. I was like, I'm not doing it. He was like, well, we already paid our money, because at that time, the clinic we were with, you could try for an entire year without paying any more money, which was a huge blessing. So you paid the money the one time. Now it was something crazy. I don't know, it was like $20,000 or whatever it was, $17,000. But you had a full year of trying. So this was our third IVF we were trying. And there's a lot of rules and things you have to do. After you have your embryo transfer, you can't lift heavy things, and you're supposed to take it easy, stress, all these things. And I got on a plane, I was lifting my suitcase, I was giving myself, you have to give yourself shots, progesterone. I was giving myself shots at the wrong time because I got mixed up between East Coast and West Coast time. Like, when I tell you I did everything wrong, I did every single thing wrong on this transfer. So my doctor calls and says, okay, you need to go to a nearby clinic. I was close to Pasadena in California. Go to a nearby clinic and go get a pregnancy. They test your blood. That's how they do with fertility treatment rather. You have to go get a blood test. So she said, you need to go there, get a blood test, and they will send the results to us. So I said, okay, but I just knew in my mind it's going to be another negative test because everything I did for those 7 years, sorry, not this time, sorry. So I go to this fertility clinic. It's early in the morning, and I have never in my life seen so many people at a fertility office. I mean, it was packed out. So I was already agitated by that because I had to be to work too, mind you. So I go in there, do the blood work. I think it took me like an hour and a half just to get through the whole process. I speed over to work, and later that afternoon, my nurse from my fertility clinic calls, and she's like, my real name is Sinhara. She says, Sinhara. And I said to her, yes. She was like, I need you to go back to that clinic. It was a Friday. I need you to go back to that clinic on Monday and take another blood test. I was like, for what? And she was like, because you're pregnant. And I was like, they must have mixed my test up with someone else. I said it was crazy in there. There were so many people. She was like, listen to me. Like, she was trying to talk sense into me because I was just like, whatever. They messed something up. She was like, listen to me very clearly. Monday, I want you to go back there. I said, okay. That same evening, my husband went down to the CVS, got a pregnancy test from the drugstore. And I took the test, and I didn't look at it. He looked at it, and he said it was positive. And I said, I still did not believe it. I said, this is something crazy going on. That Monday, I go back to that same fertility clinic, I retest. The nurse calls me again. My fertility clinic calls me again later that afternoon. She said, Sahara, you are definitely pregnant. I need you to come back home and to come see us, because I was in California. She said, I need you to come back to Atlanta and to come see us as soon as you can. So I think we set the appointment like a week from that date or something like that. And obviously I went in, they did ultrasound, and I definitely was pregnant. And I say all that to say that at the time where I had given up, at the time where I said, I'm definitely not going to go back, I'm definitely not going to do this again. Just at that point where I wasn't going to go back is the moment that something happened for me, the moment that something actually broke through for me. And now I'm sitting in the grocery store parking lot. My daughter wants to make pizzas, so I got to run into the store and get her stuff to make pizzas. And from that experience, like, I have 2 kids now. Like, my daughter's 6. I mentioned my son will be 3 in the fall. But how many of us, and maybe you're watching and you've been at this point before too, that you get so close, you feel like you're close to something, but you hear so many no's. You hear, no, not this time, no, it didn't work. And it obviously doesn't have to be infertility. It could be your career. It could be a relationship. It could be anything that you've actually fought for, but it doesn't manifest at the time that you think it should manifest, or you just takes too long and you have kind of just given up in that waiting season. Maybe you've experienced something like that. I would love to know something that happened or something you went through that something actually broke through for you when you almost gave up. And shout out to anybody out there trying to have kids. Like, if it's something that is in your heart, and if it's something that you know that you have purpose to be a mom, but maybe purpose to be a dad, whatever it is, fight for the things that you want. Because sometimes, the trick is people say, well, you shouldn't have to fight that hard for it. Some things, no, you actually have to fight for. Like, I had to fight to have kids, okay? Like, literally 7 years of trying. I did a whole podcast on it. It's called Black Girls Guide to Fertility. I did a whole web series on it. Won a lot of awards. Like, I did a lot. I put in a lot. I put a lot of seed into the ground. I put a lot of money, me and my husband, money into the ground trying to have kids. Put my body through a lot trying to have kids. All these different hormones, all the things I took. One time I even passed out at the infertility clinic. It was a lot. But sometimes the things that we think are hard, and we think they're supposed to be easy, sometimes that's not true. Sometimes the hard thing is where your breakthrough happens.